Since Combs was indicted by federal prosecutors last fall, these parties he was known for hosting and what celebrities may have attended has been the subject of intense scrutiny. But the blast radius around the star had been relatively contained until now.
And today we received some new information with one of the many celebrities that associated with P. Diddy over the years, Jay-Z, who is now accused in a civil lawsuit of raping a 13-year-old at an after party with P. Diddy and an unnamed female celebrity who was there watching. The P. Diddy party list is a lot like the Epstein list in terms of rich and powerful people that attended them, and a lot of people, myself included, have wondered if these names will ever even see the light of day because they have the means of burying it potentially. But luckily, that doesn't seem to be the case here now that Jay-Z has been named. But they should all be named, and hopefully they will over the course of this case. Make like a game of guess who and name them.
The anonymous woman, who was 13 at the time, described in the lawsuit as being drugged and raped at an MTV VMAs after party she says Combs hosted in 2000. According to the suit, she recalls accepting a drink from a waitress that made her feel woozy and lightheaded before she says she was raped by Jay-Z and then Combs in a bedroom as an unnamed female celebrity watched.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, and if you've heard Tony Busby's name before, it's because he seems to always find his way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he seems to always find his way into the big case, Charles, right? I mean, if it's Travis Scott, if it's Deshaun Watson, the NFL quarterback, he's always involved.
So Jay-Z had that strong response.
Yeah.
Tony Busby isn't backing down, and in fact said that he denied that there was any extortion. He said, my client merely reached out and wanted to have a confidential mediation.
Right.
Now, I got to say, I don't know what that confidential mediation would be about other than money.
Right.
But his point is the letter itself did not make any request for money.
Right, though I'm sure that was coming.
Yeah, it sounds like Busby's response was a little bit disingenuous. The confidential mediation would be where they would broker a settlement and not have the issue go public in the way that he did. He also mentioned that Jay-Z has sued him, and that got us thinking. There was a lawsuit, an anonymous lawsuit filed against Busby alleging extortion.
Back in November, yeah.
That's right. And now Jay-Z, in his recent motion that you referenced earlier, has said, yeah, that was me. Because when you sent your demand letters to me, I then went forward, stood my ground with an extortion lawsuit against you. And now if you're going to continue this whole spectacle, I want the accuser's name out there as well. She shouldn't be able to sue me as a Jane Doe. He says, fair is fair. This is a response to, this is retaliation for me standing my ground when you tried to extort me. And now let's just get it all out there.
Now, I bet you want to know why Jay-Z and Beyonce's name keep popping up around the whole Diddy thing. Well, that's why I'm here. Now, first thing you gotta know is when somebody like Diddy gets taken down, things always start out as a rumor. Diddy has had rumors floating around for like decades. Well, Jay-Z had a problem. He right there in the corner, by the way. Jay-Z has had a few rumors himself, but more like speculation. People see Jay-Z in a picture of R. Kelly, they're like, I guess they both make music. Then Jay-Z with Harvey Weinstein. People are like, I guess they both do business. Then, of course, Jay-Z with Diddy. Now, hold on. Here's the thing.
The new lawsuit coming with Jay, the part with Jay. I go, oh, shoot, like,
to us, black excellence.
that had to be there.
We getting tighter, you know what I'm saying? And united we stand, and ain't nothing else.
Black excellence, they're sitting there like, yeah. It's the billionaire brunch. Like,
I hate you, man.
Unaware of anything going on here. This is the one time I'm gonna be with you this year. Come on, bro.
I mean, for a guy who was arrested in September to go to trial on these federal charges on May 5th, 2025, which is right around the corner, just over 7 months after his arrest, given the mountain of evidence in this case, how complex a racketeering, conspiracy, criminal enterprise case can be, that is so soon. I've said that for a while. How do you go to trial so soon? Are both sides really ready? And look, that date was agreed upon, and I think that an argument could be made. It was pushed by Sean Combs' side while he was still trying to fight bail, even though we know he lost every time he tried to petition for pretrial release. So there seems to be an argument that he wants to hold the prosecution's feet to the fire, right? After all, it's their burden. They have to prove this case. Get this case over with, as opposed to what would be the alternative? Languishing in a detention center for years as he awaits a trial? because he's currently locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. That is notorious for its violence, its horrid conditions. So I get it. The argument could be, let's get this trial over and done with. We think we can win. That's it. Let's put it in the past. And why he wanted an injunction against, out of all people, Sean Combs.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records label owner, founder, also known as Puff P. Daddy, Bad Boy, Diddy Run the City, Sean Combs, also known as Sean Puffy Combs. And this is file number 24-7362NO. I'll grab your paperwork here real quick out of this other paperwork. We do have Mr. Cardello Smith appearing from the Michigan Department of Corrections. Sir, where are you currently located?
I'm located at the Ernest C. Brooks Correctional Facility, 2500 South Sheridan Drive, Muskegon, Michigan, 49444, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir.
Or Your Honor.
Thank you. So I do see that we do have a proof of service on Mr. Combs. But for purposes of this hearing, you filed a motion for a temporary restraining order and/or a preliminary injunction to stop all sales of the property and assets attached to or involved with said property based on the interest of plaintiff and plaintiff's connections to defendant's sexual assault of plaintiff Derek Lee Cardello Smith, requiring a preliminary injunction and/or a temporary restraining order. Do you wish to argue the motion today, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed then.
Okay, the purpose of it is based on two actions taken by Mr. Combs himself, directly with me here. We did a live one-on-one visit in our prison visiting room. There's two meetings within the past 2 weeks with Mr. Combs on one meeting, and then a financial advisor on the other meeting on Mr. Combs' behalf. And he stated that he would make me an offer to end the case and what happened to me because of other things that he stated he has going on in his life that require his money right now, and he wants to sell everything off. And he made me a financial offer of $2.3 million to allow what happened to me to go away. And he stated that he's going to be selling his property, and under the 2005 California Civil Code 2881-2885, the creation of liens, which allows out-of-state justices and orders to cause a stop of any title transfer, property transfers in Los Angeles or any other place that he has property. He stated that he wouldn't be able to proceed with that sale. And he did it the day after I served him the suit. And he also said that he won't be filing an answer to the complaint. He said, you can find me in default or whatever. He has a better chance with default than he would with having a restraining order stopped. And I said, so you want to hide you want to hide your money and stop from being quite possibly paid to me if I'm given the benefit of a judgment in my favor for what you've done to me. And he pretty much said, yeah. He goes, you know how we get down.
Diddy was just offered a plea deal to snitch on Jay-Z, and now Jay-Z is spiraling. Behind the scenes, panic has set in. Jay-Z is worried that one wrong move by Diddy could drag his billion-dollar empire straight into the flames. For years, Diddy and Jay-Z operated like untouchable kings. But now, one's in a cell, the other's looking over his shoulder every single day. And here's the twist. The only reason Jay-Z is still free is because Diddy hasn't flipped yet. But that's changing. Fast. Because when the feds come knocking with evidence and the walls start caving in, even the most powerful crack. And what's leaking out of Diddy's jailhouse now? It's damning. Diddy walked into the courtroom looking like a ghost. His usual swagger was gone. No entourage, no family, no allies. Just a baggy beige jumpsuit and dead silence. Even his own mother didn't show up this time. His sons? Missing. It was as if everyone had already written him off. The judge didn't hold back either. She looked Diddy straight in the face and told him flat out, there's no deal, no leniency, no reason to believe he wouldn't flee or manipulate the system again. Diddy had one chance to shave off years from his sentence. The government offered him a plea deal. All he had to do was tell them what they wanted to hear: the names, the structure, the power players. And Jay-Z was on that list. But Diddy said no, at least in public. Privately, though, that's where it gets dark. From inside the Metropolitan Detention Center, Diddy's been calling in favors. His phone calls, recorded and leaked, reveal a desperate man. He used other prisoners' accounts just to stay untraceable. But it wasn't enough. One of the most chilling lines? Don't forget about the pizza boxes. If you know, you know. Pizza is a code word. And in these cases, it's never just food. It's connected to the worst allegations: trafficking, minors, and hidden tapes. Diddy's not ordering dinner. He's trying to bury evidence. Then he mentions Jay. Not clearly, not loudly, but enough. Enough for listeners to know who he means. He's angry, he's scared, and he's hinting that if he goes down, Jay-Z's going with him. As the layers of this case are peeled back, Jay-Z's name keeps surfacing. It's no longer speculation. Court documents, leaked testimonies, and victim lawsuits are pointing directly at him. One accuser described an MTV after-party in 2000 where Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly assaulted her. She was just 13 years old at the time. The lawsuit was refiled to specifically name Jay-Z as a defendant. Jay-Z has denied the claims. His legal team rushed to label them heinous and ridiculous. But the pattern is undeniable. This isn't just one lawsuit, it's a storm. This isn't the first time Jay-Z has faced legal heat. In 1999, Jay-Z was arrested for stabbing Lance Rivera at the Kit Kat Club. He pled guilty to third-degree assault. That wasn't just a rumor, that was on the record. The same year, Diddy was involved in a shooting at a nightclub in Manhattan. Coincidence? No chance. These men weren't just business partners, they were collaborators in chaos. The difference? Diddy is loud, Jay-Z is quiet, but both are dangerous. And now, with Diddy behind bars and desperate, Jay-Z's silence is deafening. One of the most disturbing elements of this entire case revolves around the so-called freak-offs: drug-fueled sex parties, exploitation, coercion, hidden tunnels, surveillance cameras. One lawsuit from Joseph Manzaro alleges that in 2015, he was drugged, abducted, and taken to a freak-off hosted by Diddy. And he wasn't just any guest, he was made to wear a mask shaped like a penis. He was paraded through rooms of laughing, taunting people. And according to his lawsuit, Jay-Z and Beyoncé were there, LeBron James was there, Gloria and Emilio Estefan were there, and none of them did a thing. According to the suit, Beyoncé saw Manzaro and said, "What's this? What's this all about? Why is this half-naked white man with a penis mask standing here in front of me?" She didn't help. She didn't call for security. She didn't leave. The lawsuit doesn't accuse her or Jay-Z of direct abuse, but of knowing and watching. And that might be worse. Because silence is protection. Silence is enabling. Jay-Z has tried to stay quiet. That's his entire brand. The businessman, the mogul, the family man. But silence isn't working anymore. The feds aren't playing. They've got surveillance footage. They've got testimonies. And they've got Diddy in a cage with nowhere left to run. That's why Jay-Z is terrified. If Diddy flips, he's finished. Because the plea deal Diddy rejected, it reportedly included testimony against Jay-Z. And the only reason he turned it down was pride. But pride fades fast in prison. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Jay-Z and Beyoncé's marriage. It wasn't just love, it was strategy. That marriage boosted Jay-Z's image overnight, from street hustler to family icon, from ex-con to Grammy darling. Before Beyoncé, 1 Grammy. After her, 17. Even their kids were handed Grammys before they could sing a note. The industry bent over backwards for them. And why? Because they played the game. And Diddy was part of it. They didn't just attend freak-offs, they used those circles to build power, but now that empire is falling apart. In Joseph Manzaro's lawsuit, Jay-Z and Beyoncé aren't just background characters, they're named witnesses. That means if this case goes to trial, they could be subpoenaed, forced to testify under oath about what they saw, about what they did, about what Diddy did. That's why Jay-Z is running scared. He's doing everything he can to avoid court. And Beyoncé? She's doing everything she can to protect the brand. But here's the truth. Once you're named in a case like this, there's no hiding. You either testify or you lie. And if you lie under oath, that's perjury. This isn't gossip anymore. It's federal. At first, Diddy said no to the plea deal. But that was before the leak, before the betrayal, before his own lawyer dropped him. Now, Diddy's stuck. The case is stronger than ever. The feds have multiple victims, mountains of evidence, and hours of disturbing surveillance footage. His own homes were raided, his electronics seized, his phones cracked wide open. He knows what's coming. And if the only way out is to throw Jay-Z under the bus, he'll do it. He always has. Diddy doesn't care about loyalty. He cares about control. And if he can't control the streets, he'll control the courtroom. He's already talking in code. The leaked phone calls show he's negotiating. He's listing names. He's preparing his final move. And Jay-Z's name is at the top of that list. One of the biggest signs that Diddy's empire is collapsing came from an unexpected source, Lady Gaga. Her team reportedly told Grubman, Shire, Mycellus, and Sachs, one of the most powerful entertainment law firms in the world, that they'd walk unless Diddy was dropped as a client. And the firm caved. They had represented Diddy for over 20 years. That relationship? Gone. The same firm represents Usher, The Weeknd, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen. They're the gatekeepers of the music world. And they just slammed the door on Diddy. If Grubman dumped Diddy, who's next? Jay-Z is watching his allies vanish one by one. Diddy's main attorney, Anthony Rico, also walked away. In his filing, Rico didn't explain why. He couldn't. The reason, he said, was protected under attorney-client privilege. But let's be real. No top-tier lawyer walks away from a high-profile case like this without cause. Something scared him off. Something he saw. Something Diddy said. Something that made continuing impossible. When your own lawyer bails, that's not just a red flag. That's a siren. Jay-Z knows it. He's seeing the writing on the wall. Diddy is begging the court to throw out the evidence against him. His lawyers are claiming that the search warrants used to raid his homes and access his devices were invalid. They're saying the government exaggerated, that they painted a grossly distorted picture of Diddy. But here's the thing. The agents didn't just show up with guesses. They had victims. They had documents. They had footage. They had proof. And Diddy knows it. That's why he's trying to suppress everything. Because if the footage gets played in court, Jay-Z's name might come up again. And not in a good way. Especially if the tapes show the kind of parties they've both been denying for years. The April 2015 freak-off is one of the most disturbing events tied to this case. Manzaro, the plaintiff, described waking up half-conscious, wearing a penis mask, surrounded by laughter and humiliation. He was allegedly abducted, drugged, and transported through a secret tunnel to a mansion tied to Gloria and Emilio Estefan. He was then allegedly paraded around at a party for Diddy's 17-year-old son. Jay-Z and Beyoncé were allegedly seated in the room. And again, they said nothing, did nothing. That's the core of the accusation. No one's saying Jay-Z was the abuser that night, but what they're saying is worse in some ways, that he knew, that he watched, and that he did nothing, and that makes him part of the machine. It's not just law firms backing away. Brands, producers, musicians, they're all cutting ties. Revolt TV, gone. His liquor deals, scrapped. Awards and honors, revoked. Even New York's Mayor Eric Adams, who once gave Diddy the key to the city, is now under investigation for corruption and was recently indicted. Diddy had powerful friends, but power doesn't last when the feds start knocking, and Jay-Z knows he's next in line. Because the difference between them? Diddy got caught first, but the game they played was the same. So far, Jay-Z has kept quiet. No interviews, no statements, no lawsuits of his own, nothing. But silence doesn't mean safety. It means strategy. It means stalling. Behind the scenes, he's lawyering up, preparing statements, scrubbing his name from contracts, social media, and partnerships. He's seen what's happening to Diddy, and he knows, if one tape leaks, if one accuser steps forward with irrefutable proof, if one subpoena lands in the wrong mailbox, it's over. This isn't about music anymore. This is survival. People are starting to ask, if Jay-Z is innocent, why isn't he speaking? Why isn't he suing for defamation? Why isn't he confronting the accusations head-on? The answer may be simple, because doing so would open the door to discovery. That's the legal term for when both sides must share documents, messages, recordings, everything. And Jay-Z doesn't want that door opened, because whatever is behind it could destroy him. For years, people have whispered about the dark side of Jay-Z, the shadow deals, the NDAS, the women silenced with hush money, the victims too scared to speak. Now, those whispers are turning into court filings, and Diddy's meltdown is dragging Jay-Z into the spotlight whether he likes it or not. Former backup singer Jaguar Wright, who once worked closely with Jay-Z, came forward and called both Diddy and Jay monsters. She didn't mince words. She claimed there are multiple victims ready to testify against Jay-Z. She said his success came at a terrible cost, that people who got in his way were disappeared, ruined, or worse. And when you look at the history, she might be telling the truth. Let's look at the pattern. Biggie, dead. Tupac, dead. Nas, after challenging Jay-Z's throne, suffered a breakdown and faded from the spotlight. Dame Dash, once Jay's closest partner, now publicly shamed and pushed out of the industry. R. Kelly, once a collaborator, now in prison. Aaliyah, gone too soon. And through it all, Jay-Z rose. It's almost like he was handed the crown, not because he earned it, but because he played the game better than anyone else, quietly, ruthlessly, without a trace. Diddy was the loud one. Jay-Z was the smart one. And now? Diddy's fall might finally expose how Jay stayed on top. Multiple sources, law enforcement and otherwise, believe there are tapes. Real, physical recordings of what happened inside Diddy's parties. Surveillance footage, hidden camera angles, guest lists, even voice recordings. And if Jay-Z appears on those tapes, it won't matter how many Grammys he has. The feds will have what they need. That's why the pressure is building. That's why Diddy's rejected plea deal is so important. Because the only thing worse than going to prison is knowing someone else might take you down with them. And Diddy? He's the kind of man who will take others with him if it gives him leverage. Especially people like Jay-Z. Let's not forget Beyoncé. She's not just a superstar. She's a brand, a corporation, a billion-dollar machine. But what happens if she's called to testify? What happens if her name is listed in a deposition? If she's subpoenaed for attending one of these alleged parties? Her silence has protected her so far. But the walls are closing in. And if Jay-Z falls, Beyoncé's brand falls too. That's the risk. That's the gamble. And it's why Jay-Z is so desperate to keep this quiet. But the more he hides, the more the public demands answers. One of the most disturbing parts of Diddy's leaked prison call is when he says, "Don't forget about the list." What list? Who's on it? Is it the guest list from the freak-offs? The blackmail files? The names of celebrities who participated or just watched? Whatever it is, it scared people. The feds are likely investigating that phrase, trying to connect the dots. Because if Diddy kept records, and many believe he did, then Jay-Z could be exposed in more ways than one. And once those names go public, it's not just careers on the line, it's freedom. Jay-Z has built a spiderweb of influence. Media outlets, music labels, fashion lines, sports management firms. He owns the platforms that could tell his story, and he's used them to keep the narrative tight, controlled, and unchallenged. But federal court doesn't care about image. Judges don't care about title streams or Grammy awards. If Jay-Z is named in connection to Diddy's crimes, and those names are backed by evidence, it's over. He can't PR his way out of federal court. He can't bribe his way out of a subpoena. And the truth is starting to leak. The title isn't just a metaphor. People are saying Jay-Z is already running. Not physically, but legally. He's moving assets, rewriting contracts, preparing contingency plans. He's getting ready. Because he knows if Diddy flips, if just one witness comes forward with solid evidence, he'll be next. This isn't speculation, it's strategy. And Jay-Z has always played chess, not checkers. But even the best strategy can't save you when the whole board is crumbling. Jay-Z thought staying quiet would protect him, that keeping his name out of the headlines would shield him from the fallout of Diddy's trial. But that plan is falling apart. Now that his name is showing up in court documents, in lawsuits, and in leaked prison calls, silence is no longer a shield, it's a spotlight. Diddy's implosion is exposing everything. The feds know there's more to this story than just one man. They've been watching Diddy for years, but only now are they digging into the people who helped him build his empire, protect it, and benefit from it. And Jay-Z is on that list. Not just as an associate, but as an enabler. Someone who allegedly had a front row seat to the worst of it and said nothing. This isn't about one party or one lawsuit anymore. This is about a system. A secret network of elite celebrities who protected each other through silence, power, and money. A machine that turned pain into profit, using fame as a smokescreen for abuse. And now, the smokescreen is lifting. In court filings, Jay-Z's name is attached to some of the most horrifying details. One victim claims she saw him at a freak-off party. Another says he was in the room while she was paraded around half-naked wearing a mask. These aren't random rumors. They're part of active lawsuits, filed under oath, backed by timelines and names. And while Jay-Z denies everything, his denials are starting to look less like statements and more like panic responses. His lawyers are working overtime, not just to block subpoenas, but to isolate him from Diddy's wreckage. But it's too late. The feds are already connecting the dots, and the media's starting to follow. Diddy was sloppy, loud, brutal. Jay-Z was careful, quiet, strategic. But they were in the same rooms, at the same events, surrounded by the same victims. One disturbing fact keeps coming up. Diddy was calling Jay-Z from jail, using burner lines, speaking in code. He was reaching out for help, for damage control, for escape. But Jay-Z didn't answer publicly. He knows helping Diddy now makes him look guilty. But ignoring him? That's even worse. Because Diddy is unpredictable, desperate. And if he feels betrayed, he won't hesitate to take Jay-Z down with him. The leaked phone call from jail was a warning shot. Diddy spoke in codes, mentioning boxes, pizza, recycling. To the average person, it means nothing. But to those who understand the terminology, it's horrifying. Pizza is dark slang connected to child trafficking circles. Boxes may refer to evidence. Plastic could mean people. And Diddy saying, "Don't forget the list," is a direct threat. Everyone's asking, what's on that list? Names, crimes, blackmail material? Jay-Z doesn't want the public to find out. He's doing everything he can behind the scenes to make sure that list never sees the light of day. But the more he scrambles, the more suspicious he looks. Diddy's trial is moving forward. The judge denied any delay. Jury selection is happening, and the court is allowing victims to testify under pseudonyms, except for one, Cassie Ventura. She's going to testify under her real name. That's bad news for Diddy, but even worse news for Jay-Z, because Cassie knows more than she's saying. She was around the parties, around the people, and possibly around the secrets Jay-Z thought were buried. Cassie's testimony could trigger others to speak up. And once that starts, Jay-Z's carefully constructed empire could unravel overnight. He's been protected by lawyers, money, and silence. But none of that matters when people start talking. Meanwhile, the Grubman law firm's decision to drop Diddy has opened the floodgates. The same firm that helped build Diddy's brand, that protected him for decades, that worked with Jay-Z too, they're done. And according to reports, it happened because Lady Gaga threatened to leave the firm if they didn't cut ties. That's how radioactive Diddy has become. And if Jay-Z thinks he's immune to that kind of fallout, he's fooling himself. All it takes is one more public revelation, one more email, one more leaked clip, one more lawsuit, and his allies will vanish just as fast. Behind the scenes, Jay-Z is preparing for the worst. He's moving money, rewriting contracts, selling off assets through dummy corporations. He's protecting Beyoncé, the kids, the brand. But it's not enough. Because this scandal isn't just legal, it's cultural. And public opinion can shift fast, especially when the details get this dark. Jay-Z's defenders point to his success, his charity work, his clean public image. But those aren't shields against federal subpoenas. They're distractions. And the feds don't care about PR. They care about patterns. And right now, Jay-Z's pattern is aligning a little too perfectly with Diddy's. From the stabbing in 1999 to the lawsuits in 2023. From the MTV party in 2000 to the freak-off in 2015. From NDAs to sudden settlements. From vanishing accusers to sealed records. Jay-Z's history is littered with red flags, and Diddy's downfall is dragging them all into the open. Every time Jay-Z tries to distance himself, a new connection surfaces. A guest list, a leaked text, a timeline that puts him in the same city, same party, same room. And the longer he stays silent, the more the public wonders, what is he hiding? There's a reason Jay-Z is rarely seen now. No interviews, no podcasts, no social media posts. He's ducking the spotlight. But that spotlight is relentless. It doesn't wait for permission. It follows the truth. And the truth is this. Diddy and Jay-Z were two sides of the same coin. One was chaotic, one was calculated, but both played the same game, built the same empire, protected the same secrets. Now one is behind bars, and the other, he's running. There's no more hiding, no more deflecting, no more damage control that can outpace the truth. The empire Jay-Z and Diddy built over decades is collapsing, and what once looked like power now looks like rot. Even in the courtroom, the atmosphere is shifting. Victims aren't just accusing Diddy anymore. They're referencing who else was there, who else turned a blind eye, and who else benefited. And more often than not, Jay-Z's name is in that conversation. Not as a bystander, but as someone who was right in the middle of it all. The problem for Jay-Z now isn't just the lawsuits, it's the tapes. Federal authorities are slowly uncovering footage seized during the raids on Diddy's Miami and Los Angeles homes. Leaked information suggests there were over 250 surveillance cameras installed across his properties. Every room, every corner, every hallway. Diddy wasn't just paranoid. He was recording. And not for safety, for leverage. He built an archive of blackmail, footage of celebrities, politicians, athletes, entertainers, caught doing things they'd never want exposed. And if Jay-Z was ever at one of those freak-offs, if he said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing, or was even just present during an act of abuse, those cameras may have captured it. That's why he's panicking. Because if even a second of footage leaks, the illusion is shattered forever. People once believed Jay-Z made it on pure talent and hustle. Now they're realizing it might have been something darker: collusion, silence, and complicity, all wrapped in fame. Diddy kept records. And now, locked behind bars with nothing left to protect, he's willing to hand them over to the feds in exchange for a lighter sentence. The same Diddy who bragged about power, who threw parties for presidents, who had billionaires on speed dial, he's now alone, desperate, and dangerous. Jay-Z knows what that means. He's seen it happen before. When things get tight, Diddy doesn't fall. He drags everyone else down with him. And Jay-Z, despite all the distance he's tried to put between them, was his closest partner in crime for over 2 decades. Even Diddy's family has abandoned him. At his last court hearing, not a single son, sibling, or cousin showed up. He looked around for familiar faces and saw none. That's what happens when loyalty runs out. And it will run out for Jay-Z too. Because the people who protect you when you're winning disappear the second you're exposed. It's already happening. Whispers in the industry say Roc Nation staff are jumping ship, that upper executives are distancing themselves, that artists who once relied on Jay-Z's clout are quietly looking for new deals. Because nobody wants to be tied to a sinking ship. Jay-Z has built an image of control, cool, calm, calculated. But you can only hold back the truth for so long. His empire is built on reputation. And right now, that reputation is crumbling, one lawsuit at a time. And it's not just about guilt, it's about what he knew. If Jay-Z knew what Diddy was doing, if he saw even one victim and looked away, then he's not just complicit, he's part of it. His silence is no longer a mystery, it's a confession. The most powerful thing about this scandal isn't just the crimes, it's the cover-up. The years of PR, the media manipulation, the staged interviews, the fake smiles, the strategic red carpet appearances with Beyoncé to remind everyone, we're the good guys. But good guys don't hide behind NDAs. Good guys don't dodge subpoenas. Good guys don't vanish when the victims speak. Now Jay-Z is running out of places to hide. The legal heat is closing in. Investigators are digging deeper. Reporters are connecting timelines. Lawyers are ready to pounce. And the people who once feared Jay-Z's influence are finally feeling brave enough to tell the truth. There's even talk of a grand jury investigation that could include his name. And once that starts, everything comes out. Text messages, private emails, testimony from former assistants, drivers, security guards. It won't just be about what he did. It'll be about what he allowed. And let's not forget the deeper connections. Jay-Z and Beyoncé were allegedly regulars at Diddy's private parties. Not just as guests, but as fixtures. And if even one person steps forward with proof they participated in or witnessed something criminal, the illusion is shattered. That's why Jay-Z is terrified. Because right now, it's not about whether he's guilty in the eyes of the law. It's about whether the truth will finally catch up with him. And Diddy? He's the ticking time bomb. Every day behind bars, Diddy loses more power and gains more motivation to make deals. He's isolated, abandoned, angry. And he knows that if he goes down for life, he wants company. His threats aren't just to scare Jay-Z. They're real. They're strategic. They're personal. And Jay-Z knows they're coming. In fact, he's already moving like someone who's been warned. Industry insiders say he's been spending more time overseas, trying to keep a low profile, working to relocate business interests and shield assets. Not because he's preparing for trial, but because he's preparing for exposure. The freak-offs, the tunnels, the private jets, the encrypted messages. It's all part of a story that's no longer conspiracy. It's evidence. Diddy's downfall is the first domino. Jay-Z's is next. And when that domino falls, it won't just be him. It'll be everyone who protected him. Everyone who stayed silent. Everyone who let the abuse go on behind closed doors in exchange for fame, power, and access. This is no longer a story about two music moguls. It's about a system built on silence. And what happens when that silence finally breaks? Jay-Z can run. But he can't run forever, because the walls are closing in. And the truth? The truth doesn't need permission to knock your empire to the ground. This isn't the beginning. This is the end.